Let's just start with helping the reader. It is, I mean, if it, you know, this is perhaps something which is generic across all forms of design, and perhaps not just editorial design. Design is there to help people understand, help people experience things. If we go straight in with a classic magazine like the New Yorker, which I'm sure you're aware of, but they have a heritage and a history which allows them to present pages like this. Very dense, but very, very designed. Now, it doesn't look designed and it doesn't express design, it doesn't talk a lot about design, but the effort that historically has gone into a page like that to make sure that when they do it, that it is perfect, should not be underestimated. Just as the quality of the text in the magazine has been checked and double-checked, and if you read a piece in the New Yorker, you will find it's the definitive piece on that subject. Similarly, the simple three-column grid, but every element within that is there to aid legibility and aid the reader. So it is 3 columns. It is, I don't know, I can't tell you the exact spec in terms of the typography on that page, but it has been worked and worked and worked so that the size of the characters, the space between the characters, the space between the words, the space between the columns, the relationship between the lines, the way the little drop cap fits in, everything has been utterly, utterly worked to make it as easy to use as possible. Even the headlines and other elements there are just so. There's no layer of style or additional use of design. There's no over-design. It's just very, very... To call it functional and usable is almost to belittle it, but that's fundamentally what it is. It's strong functional design that is helping the reader. There's the close-up of it. You might even go down to real details here and note that they have the special ligature character for the 2 F's together. At the other end of the scale, you have something like Grazia, which I know there's a Dutch edition. It's common to it's a common style into a lot of magazines. They go to the other extreme. They're using some of the rules of legibility and the rules of helping the reader, but they're really chucking everything onto the page, but there's still a lot of design going into that page. It's far more self-evident design, it's far more obvious design, but they're using some very basic techniques, not least the idea of writing a list, which is a very fundamental idea of organising stuff, of organising material onto the page. But it doesn't look like a list. This is a regular story that, certainly in the UK edition of Grazia, they run the 10 hot stories every week, and those 10 stories might be from any of the whole realm of what Grazia encompasses. So it could be a news story, it could be a disaster story, it could be a celebrity story, it could be a TV story. 10 different stories are wrapped together in what, if you were just to run the text, it would barely fill a single page of the magazine. But by adding pictures and the styling and spreading them out, it often takes sort of 10, 11 pages. So if you just run through what I mean there, you'll see that the one common factor on every page is this number. It is literally a list of 10 hot stories. So we've got Sadie Frost as her physique has recovered from having children. Number 2. Number 3, suddenly we're into the New Orleans disaster, but this is a few years ago. Number 4, everything else on that page, the text is changing, the headline font is changing, a lot of the techniques are changing. They're all, it's all perfectly legible, but it's completely different to what we're looking at with the New Yorker, but they've just got this one device, the underscored number holding it together every time. Sometimes you've got more than one on a page, so 5, 6. I'm trying to get through this, but the remote control isn't. Maybe I'll try that other one. Number 7, number 8. I'm labouring the point, but you get it. Number 9, number 10. So if you like, there's the 2 extremes. You've got the real functionality of something like the New Yorker, and then you've got something like this, which is using design and colour to group together 10 very disparate items on the page and give it a Grazia identity, but hold those images together, which would, those subjects together, which normally you would not see news about the bird flu the New Orleans disaster and Kate Moss's latest celebrity crash out. But the design holds those things together into one coherent whole. We've already seen a bit of Monocle. I'm going to show some Monocle now. Front cover, but they, interestingly, kind of do both. They have a very grid-orientated, quite clearly. There is influence in this magazine that's been taken from the New Yorker, and I'm sure Tyler Brûlé would be quite happy to admit that. It's a definite connection. Very book-like, very bookish, very seriously presented. Quite humorless, in fact, which I think is a trick that this magazine's missing that the New Yorker does very well. There's a sense of wit and humour to it. This tends to be quite straight. And however, what they do, you can see it on the cover there. There's the little bullet points at the top: A, B, C, D, E, and the magazine is divided. And again, it starts reflecting this list idea. There are 5 parts to it. There's A for affairs, B for business, C for culture, D for design, and E for edits. And each section is very clearly indicated. And as I flick through here, you'll see the system for the headline and the attribution in terms of place, the introduction being called a preface, and the way the writers and illustrators are credited. It's, not only is it similar, or it's identical on every page, but it is deliberately book-like, and the way the A, B, C, D, E are figured is very old-school bookishness. And here we go. I'm just going to run through that. So again, you get that idea that there's a structure here. The structure is being expressed very explicitly to try and to help the reader, to explain, to help the reader through the magazine. I'm currently in London working on a redesign of a big consumer title, and one of the issues that we're facing is the last redesign had no navigation on the pages. Peter referred to the little part at the bottom of the page on his magazine saying Mini International. The folio and the page number and devices like these, it's a very blurry one at the top there, but if I just jump forward, I think we'll see you. No, we're not going to see it, yeah. The photos are far too arty to show the stuff, but those basic components on the page are there not because you're really going to look at them and pore over them, but you need them there to help to just give engagement so that you can flick through. The magazine experience is one of flicking through. There is obviously a structure in the sense that there's a contents page, and the contents page relates to the numbers on every page, and there's a sense of logic to that which help the reader use it, helps the team making the magazine make the magazine. There's a relationship between making and experiencing it. But the reality is when you sit down and read a magazine, you flick through. And so as well as the page numbers, you need as much as possible on the page to help you. And it's arguable in some magazines, and Grazia sometimes can reach the situation where there's almost too much help going along. There's too much on the page pointing to you, helping to you. And one of the design rules that I always try to hold on to is the idea that there should be nothing surplus on the page. There's a better I can't remember what the bloody word is. Got a mental block. There should be nothing extra on the page other than what needs to be on the page. And when I come to show some of my work, superfluous, that's the word. Simple is better, but you have to have some guidance and help present.